You found your way to Whispers of Crimes, a quiet corner where the shadows of the past are gently told. Here, we speak of real crimes and mysteries, not to shock or scare, but to wonder, to reflect, and maybe to help you fall asleep. So close your eyes, let your thoughts slow down, and come with me into tonight's case. She was one of the most recognizable faces on British television, cheerful, trusted, and loved by millions. But behind the camera, someone was watching her. Not a fan, not a follower. A man with a plan. Inside his Essex flat, he wasn't just fantasizing, he was preparing. A restraint kit sat hidden in his home. Thousands of miles away, a stranger he'd never met was getting ready to board a plane. And the target? Holly Willoughby. This wasn't a storyline from a thriller. It was a real-life plot interrupted just in time. Who was Gavin Plumb? Why did he choose her? And how close did he get before the alarm was raised? The answers are more disturbing than anyone expected. Chapter 1. The man behind the obsession, Gavin Plumb, seemed like an ordinary man at first. Living in the quiet town of Harlow, Essex, he led a fairly mundane life. A 36-year-old security officer at a local shopping center, Plumb's daily routine was far removed from the spotlight. He was reclusive, overweight, and mostly kept to himself. There was nothing about him that stood out in a crowd. But that ordinary existence concealed something darker. Plumb had been hiding behind the anonymity of online communities, places where anyone could be whoever they wanted to be. It was in these dark corners of the internet that his obsession began to fester. For months, he fixated on Holly Willoughby, the well-loved co-host of ITV's This Morning. She wasn't just a celebrity to him, she became the object of his disturbing fantasy. Plumb wasn't just another fan. He saw Holly as something he could possess, and in the most twisted sense, he believed he was entitled to her. Over time, his obsession grew into something more dangerous. It went from harmless admiration to a calculated plan to kidnap and restrain her. This wasn't idle daydreaming. This was methodical preparation. He began to build a kidnap kit, gathering materials that no one would ever expect from an ordinary man. A collection of rope, duct tape, handcuffs, and knives. These weren't items someone would buy casually. They were tools meant for something far darker. In his mind, he wasn't just fantasizing about holding Holly captive. He was preparing for it, and he had a plan. Chapter 2. A dangerous obsession. What was it that drew Plumb so deeply into this dangerous fantasy? It's hard to say for sure, but it wasn't just a passing fancy. His obsession with Holly Willoughby wasn't the kind of crush you might expect from a fan. It was the kind of obsession that comes from the darkest parts of the human mind, the kind that festers and grows when it is left unchecked. Plumb spent hours, even days, online lurking in obscure chat rooms, reading about kidnapping, and connecting with like-minded individuals who fed into his delusions. One person, in particular, stood out. A man from the United States who seemed to share Plumb's warped interests, engaged in long conversations about the kidnapping plot. The chilling thing wasn't just the conversations, it was how Plumb kept the details precise. He knew exactly where Holly would be when she would be most vulnerable, and how he would strike. The conversations with his American accomplice revealed the extent of his preparations. He had mapped out every detail of the abduction. He wasn't planning a random act of violence. He had made a calculated decision on how he would grab her, where he would hold her, and what he would do next. It was clear that he wasn't just fantasizing, he was planning. The plot had become real. Plumb wasn't just some guy with a creepy obsession, he was a man on a mission. And the worst part? He wasn't alone in his twisted thinking. Chapter 3. The plan comes into focus. As disturbing as it was, the terrifying reality of Plumb's intentions began to unfold in greater detail. The police, tipped off by a concerned individual in the United States, someone Plumb had been speaking to, began to investigate. What they uncovered was chilling. Authorities discovered the online conversations where Plumb had meticulously planned Holly's abduction. They found his messages where he instructed his American associate on how to get to the UK, what to bring, and how they would carry out the plot. This wasn't just idle talk. This was the blueprint for a crime that could have turned deadly. The evidence pointed to one thing: Plumb was serious. He wasn't just collecting these materials as part of some twisted hobby. He had every intention of going through with the plan. And what's more chilling is how close he had gotten to pulling it off. He had already begun preparing for the day when Holly would be vulnerable, when she would be at her most unsuspecting. He even had a specific date in mind. But before that day could come, fate intervened. Chapter 4. The Breakthrough. The breakthrough in this case came when Plumb's online associate reported the disturbing conversations to authorities in the United States. It was this action that led to the unraveling of the entire plot. Without that tip-off, Plumb might have carried on with his plan, and the authorities might not have known about the danger that Holly Willoughby was in until it was too late. Once the tip came through, British law enforcement swung into action. They immediately traced the communications back to Plumb and began investigating his background. The scale of his preparations was shocking. Not only did he have the necessary materials, but he had also gone as far as to scout Holly's movements. He knew where she lived, where she worked, and where she would be on specific days. His plan was well thought out, and it showed that he had been tracking her for some time. The police didn't waste time. They arrested Plumb at his home in Essex and immediately began searching for any further evidence. What they found was more than they could have imagined: a stockpile of kidnapping materials, detailed plans, and a chilling set of digital communications that confirmed the depth of Plumb's obsession. The police informed Holly Willoughby's team, and ITV took immediate steps to ensure her safety. Holly was placed under protection, and her whereabouts were kept secret for the time being. The reality of the situation began to hit hard. A beloved TV personality was nearly the victim of a well-organized kidnapping plot. Chapter 5. The emotional impact for Holly Willoughby. The revelation that someone had been planning to kidnap her was nothing short of terrifying. The knowledge that a man had been tracking her every move, studying her routine, and making detailed plans to hurt her would shake anyone to their core. But for someone who had built a career as a warm, familiar face in people's homes, the intrusion was even more jarring. In the days following the arrest, Holly took some time away from the public eye. She was placed under police protection and kept in seclusion for her own safety. The experience was emotional and traumatic. No one could have prepared her for the fact that such a sinister plan had been aimed at her. It's easy to imagine the turmoil that would have taken hold as she processed the information, knowing just how close she came to being the victim of something truly horrifying. Yet through it all, Holly's strength remained. She returned to television when the time was right, but the shadow of this plot would likely follow her for a long time. As public figures, celebrities like Holly often have to live with the reality that they are targets of both admiration and obsession. This case was a stark reminder of how far some individuals will go when their fantasies turn into dangerous plans. Chapter 6. The Aftermath. The legal proceedings against Gavin Plumb moved quickly. His arrest was just the beginning of what would become a lengthy court case. As the details of his plot were laid bare in court, it became clear just how far he had gone to make his plans a reality. Plumb was charged with soliciting to commit murder and kidnapping, charges that are some of the most serious offenses in the UK. The court proceedings were heavily covered by the media, with Plumb's mental state being a central issue in his defense. Psychiatric evaluations revealed that he had been struggling with deep psychological issues, which may have contributed to his dangerous obsession. But none of this could take away from the fact that a plan had been put into motion, a plan that could have ended in tragedy. Holly Willoughby's life had been put at risk, and the public was left to grapple with the reality that such a chilling plot could unfold so close to home. Chapter 7. Reflections on Fame and Safety. The Gavin Plumb case raises difficult questions about fame, privacy, and the dangers that celebrities face in an increasingly connected world. Public figures like Holly Willoughby often live their lives under intense scrutiny. What's often forgotten, however, is the psychological toll that comes with being constantly in the public eye and the very real risks that come with fame. The internet, for all its conveniences, has become a breeding ground for dangerous obsessions. It gives people like Plum the anonymity they crave while also providing them with a platform to connect with others who might share their delusions. This case serves as a harsh reminder of how far some people are willing to go when their fantasies turn dark. For Holly, the journey may never feel quite the same. She will likely always be aware of the hidden dangers lurking in the world. And for Gavin Plumb, the justice system will have to grapple with the balance between mental health and the severity of his actions. The question remains, in a world where digital connections have blurred the lines between fantasy and reality, how can we better protect the people who are targets of such dangerous obsessions? That's all for tonight's story. Another thread in the web of true crime, quietly unraveling as the night goes on. If you're still with me, thanks for listening. And if sleep has already taken you, may your dreams be peaceful and your mind at ease. I'll be here next time by the fire with another story waiting to be told. Good night, and don't forget to lock your doors.